Welcome to episode 6 of the Broken Plane podcast with your hosts, TK.
Hello.
And JB. That's me.
How's it going, JB?
It's going great.
Great.
It's going great.
I love it.
Just great.
That's good to hear.
Good to be here. We're using Skype to record. So, so a little back and forth, little virtual back and forth.
Yeah, it might be this way for a little while until the PodShed gets up and running.
Tell us about the PodShed.
The PodShed. I have a shed in my backyard, and it's filthy, and it's filled with yard equipment.
Yes.
And other crap that the previous homeowners left in the shed, like tiles and paint cans and yeah.
All that stuff that will be useful for you later.
Stuff like that. So I'm going to be throwing all that away, and then I'm going to make it nice. I'll start posting pictures once I get all the crap out of it and start putting stuff into it.
That's
and the
awesome.
plan is to hopefully pod from there.
That would be
even
sweet.
In the winter, even when it's like 20 degrees out.
No, it's Oregon. It doesn't get to 20 degrees out here.
That's true.
But it does get rainy, though, and there might be leaks in the roof.
No way. It's sound. Like our podcast.
Exactly like the podcast.
And nothing like the Trump administration.
Okay, stop. We're not talking about that on this show. What a nightmare that's turned into, huh? Good grief.
I don't know.
Unless you like watching tire fires, unless you enjoy, watching the spectacle.
Browns fans.
Anyway, you can get a hold of us on
we've
Twitter,
got a plethora of methods.
At The Broken Plane.
Twitter.
Email, thebrokenplanepod@gmail.com. You can get a hold of us on Facebook. We're on Instagram, iTunes, and Google Play Music. We are not on Spotify.
Not yet.
And we are not on SoundCloud. So if you're looking for us there, you will not find us at all.
But if you're listening to us, then you know how to find us. And you're not looking for us in the wrong places.
Yeah, so congratulations, and well done.
You win.
Yeah, and for the other people, better luck next time, I guess.
Speaking of winning. Twitter Fan of the Week.
Twitter Fan of the Week, yes.
Chosen randomly by me. The one and only Vic Garza. @_21_Lions.
@_21_Lions. Vic Garza, congratulations. Twitter Fan of the Week.
Yeah. Big praise, big prestige.
Yeah. What does he get for that?
He gets the recognition. He may gain a follower or 6.
one of followers might jump onto his bandwagon.
Yeah. I'm thinking in a couple more weeks we might have to do a giveaway, and and when we get to a certain number of followers, we might then randomly pick a follower and actually give them something for real.
What would we give him, though?
That's the hard part. We got to find something.
Okay.
I've been thinking about it. So maybe next week we'll have some more info on that.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So are you ready to jump in this week?
I'm ready.
Essentially, this is week 2 of preseason.
Yeah.
And I think the big news going into this week is Ezekiel Elliott is suspended.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Zeke got suspended. They came down with a 6-game ban, a 6-game hammer.
6 games for nothing?
Domestic abuse.
Yeah, I guess that's something. But
6 games.
There were no legal charges.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Oh.
That's because Section 46 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement says that Roger Goodell has all kinds of authority to do this sort of thing when it protects the league. It's funny because that clause has always been in the CBA. They've always bargained for it to be there. So this isn't anything new. It's just something that the commissioner, during this last round of negotiations and after it, he's really taken it upon himself to exercise this clause.
Well, good for him. He's trying to clean things up, I guess.
I suppose it does seem a little unilateral, but I've got to tell you something. Since it came down for Ezekiel Elliott,
Never been a big fan.
I'm not disappointed. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, why not?
I think it's fine.
Nothing for you.
I think that's why. I think 6 weeks of not having to watch him
Nothing for you.
do that is better for me. No more eating soup from the Cowboys. I think I'm fine with it.
So you don't like the soup?
No, that's dumb.
Okay.
That bothers me. You remember we talked about this earlier? Dante Culpepper with the let's roll and the arms.
That's right.
The jerky
arm
roll.
One.
No, that was horrible. That was terrible. Anything you do like after just a regular play, that's silly.
How do you feel about Aaron Rodgers' belt thing?
I feel less bad about that because I feel like he doesn't do it after just big plays. It seems like that's a touchdown thing.
The rushing touchdown or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's the only one I can think of right now. There used to be a lot more, I feel like, and you don't see that type of stuff as much anymore.
No, thank God. No. It's silly. I don't mind.
You just see the emphasized first down a lot.
And, that's dumb, but whatever.
It's just silly to me, too.
Yeah. But whatever, that's fine. I don't even mind Zeke jumping into the Salvation Army Bowl. I think that's hysterical. He should do that more.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't eat soup.
No soup for you.
He shouldn't do that.
I agree.
And now the Cowboys don't have to worry about him doing it for 6 weeks.
Or you.
Or me. Unless...
And really, it's not 6 weeks. It's 8 weeks.
It
or
is.
7 weeks.
Yeah, because of the bye week.
He won't, his first game back will be week 8 when the Cowboys head to Washington and then they play the Red...
No. They play the Washington football team.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
my bad.
The Washington NFL football team. Yeah, the thing that I like about this, though, is that this 6-game suspension stems from not the incident back last March where he lifted up a lady's shirt in a bar. No. And not the incident from, last month when he punched a guy in the face at a bar. This came
Allegedly.
Allegedly. This came from a year ago in July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, shortly before training camp a year ago. That's what this 6 games is for. So I guess my question is, if he gets 6 games for that after a year, what's going to happen next year at this time?
Does the NFL have a statute of limitations?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting to find out.
It's really this is silly. The whole thing is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
I'm not terribly impressed. I guess I'm more concerned if I was a Cowboys fan, which I am not. If I was a Cowboys fan, I would be more concerned that this kind of stuff seems to still be happening.
Yeah, that's troubling.
This isn't a one-and-done thing. This isn't an accidental overstep. This isn't an oversight. This seems to be a pattern of behavior that goes all the way back to when Ezekiel Elliott was at Ohio State. So this isn't new.
He issued a statement, though, I think, saying that he admits that he's not a perfect person and he's a work in progress. So
Oh, he did.
Hopefully he's trying to remedy himself of these flaws.
Maybe. And it's good of him to admit that he's not a perfect person. I mean, I think that's the first step. That's, good on him, I suppose. It kind of boggles my mind, especially in the situation that he's in, because the Cowboys are going to be without him for the first 6 weeks. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know that it's going to matter.
I mean, I think it's going to matter in that they will be in tighter games than they would be without him.
Do you think so?
I do. And I think, too, it's going to matter later in games when he's the type of guy that can break off the big runs and actually punish a team even though they're stuffing the box and aware that a team is just going to run out the clock and try and run the ball constantly. Because guys like Alfred Morris and Darren McFadden and they just signed Ronnie Hillman, they're not on the same level as Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys. I think there's a lot of guys that can run behind that line.
That's true. Their offensive line is superior, outstanding.
I don't know. It strikes me as the kind of thing where if he does end up coming back and let's say McFadden is doing well. Let's say he's averaging 110 yards a game, which is not, maybe that's a lot, but I don't think that wouldn't shock me to death if somebody came from the future and said, yeah, after week 7, McFadden's averaging over 100 yards a game.
Do you think that one of these 3 guys is going to sort of take hold of the number 1 spot for the time being? Or do you think the Cowboys are going to have to, or they're going to choose to just roll with, kind of rotate all 3 of them and let them all play, not equal shares, but, 10 to 8 carries each week?
I would imagine it's probably going to be more like that. I'd be surprised if any one of those guys would grab onto the spot long term.
That's what I think too.
A lot of that has to do with how they perform. I think if you get one guy who gets hot,
exactly. If somebody's just averaging over 5 yards a carry, they're probably going to stick with them and get a hold of at least a game and get a chance to do that again another week.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I think they're going to be okay. I think the games might not be. I think they're still going to win most of their games.
I think they will too. I'm a little disappointed about that, but I think they're probably gonna be fine.
And he's officially appealed his the ruling, so that's gonna happen. So there's a chance that it could get cut down. I don't think they're probably gonna take the whole thing away, but that'll happen in about 2 weeks. I think Adam Schefter, I saw, said that he was expecting the hearing to take place on August 29th, so they should find out before the season starts where he's at.
That's just before, isn't it? August 29th? That's
I think the first game, this Thursday game, is the 7th, I believe, of September.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit farther along then. Okay.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they shaved a couple of games off. 6 games seemed like quite a bit, especially when it seems like the person who, I don't want to say pressing charges, but the woman that this happened to, it sounds like she's a little sketchy. The Cowboys, or whoever Elliott's defense team has done a great job of smearing her at any rate.
Yeah. I was seeing that today. It sounds like his ex-girlfriend, there is some evidence out there in text message exchanges that she may have been plotting to extort him for money.
Yeah.
So who knows how reliable it is with the whole intention to possibly gain off of him.
It could be, but
at his expense.
I mean, again, it wouldn't surprise me either if it turns out that yes, she had done that, but also yes, he had beaten her up. That wouldn't surprise me.
It could be a combination of both very easily.
Yeah, and in which case I go back to, you know what, you're a pro athlete, and more so you're a man, and you really shouldn't be hitting women. That's kind of how that should work, especially not your girlfriend. That's not a thing that you should do. There's really no excuse for that.
Yeah, maybe just break up with her if things aren't going that great.
That seems like the easiest thing to do. Break up with her, and then a restraining order, and then private security. That seems like the road you should travel instead of beating her up.
That's what I'd do.
Okay. 6 games. It's going to cost him a pretty penny, too. If he does get dinged for all 6. Yeah,
I know he'll have to pay back from his signing bonus money that he misses for each game. I think it's $240,000 per game that he misses. And I couldn't quite make out the figures, but he'll lose money from other parts of his contract as well, if this holds. So I think he's going to lose money no matter what.
Which again, I have a hard time. I have a hard time feeling sorry for him. I really don't. I don't feel sorry for him at all. I'm going to be happy to not see that blockhead of his out there on the sidelines. I'm fine with it.
It's too bad the money doesn't go somewhere productive. It probably just goes back to the Cowboys, though.
Well, I think it goes to charity, doesn't it? It's like the NBA.
Well, they donate it.
Yeah, it goes to the Salvation Army.
Okay, that's good.
I think so.
I hope you're right.
It's like a little over. It could end up being a little over $1 million.
Yeah.
So that would be, that'd be good.
Good.
If that's where it goes, I don't know. What's next? Do you have anything else to talk about with Zeke?
I'm done with Zeke. Get back to me in mid-October, late October.
We'll come back to you then.
Yeah.
The second bit of news.
It was a busy week in the transactions for the Buffalo Bills.
A giant 3-way trade at the beginning of training camp.
Well, not a 3-way trade, 2 separate trades.
2 separate trades. That's right. 2 separate trades. And really, one piece of it was 2 entirely separate trades. It wasn't a 3-way deal at all. It wasn't I trade you and then move that piece over to someplace else. It was 2 separate deals. Why don't you break it down for us?
So the Bills first made a trade with the Rams. The Bills sent the Rams Sammy Watkins, standout 3-year coming in.
This will be his 3rd year. Yeah, this is his 4th year. This is going into his 4th year.
Okay. There we go. We did our research. And the Bills also sent the Rams a 2018 6th-round pick, which is a hot commodity. The Bills, in return from the Rams, picked up a cornerback, E.J. Gaines, and the Rams' 2018 2nd-round pick, which actually is a good pick.
That's not a bad get, yeah.
That's probably a mid-30s pick, because the Rams are probably not going to finish anywhere but near the bottom of the league.
Probably not. Did you want to talk about these trades as they come up, or did you want to go through the whole list first and then come back?
I'll finish off the trades and then just go through everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, the Bills promptly made a deal with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they sent cornerback Ronald Darby to the Eagles and picked up Eagles wide receiver Jordan Matthews and the Eagles' 3rd-round pick in 2018.
Which might not be as high.
No.
But still a 3rd-round pick.
3rd-round pick's a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
It's a top 100 pick.
Yeah.
So, who do you think won?
Well, this is one of those. It's really interesting because I think the winner of this trade will change as we start going farther down the road. But I gotta think that right up front, the Rams.
You think the Rams did?
I think the Rams did, and the reason why is if Sammy Watkins can stay healthy. I know that's kind of an if because he missed half the season last year. He missed 3 games the year before that, but his rookie year he played 16 games.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy for 16 games, he gives them a valid deep threat the whole year.
And he's just the most reliable receiver they've seen in I don't know how long.
It's a long time, yeah. So if Goff can give him the ball, which is a big if, but if Goff can, it'll give Goff someone to throw the ball to. At least he's got a guy.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of a home run swing for the Rams. If they miss this, it's going to look really bad.
Yeah, and the problem too, minor problem, they only are guaranteed to have him for this season. He's a free agent next year, so they've got to re-sign him. Yeah. But if they don't, if he gets away, leaves in free agency, they at least get a compensatory pick in the draft. So they didn't completely... they'll get another pick back, basically, if he does leave. Or they get Sammy Watkins for more time.
I would imagine they probably... It would... If they have any kind of success, if Sammy Watkins has any kind of success in LA, it would surprise me if he went anywhere else.
Right, as long as they're offering him money.
Yeah, and I think they will. The Rams have lots of salary cap room. That's the upside of not having anybody on your roster worth paying money to. Right?
They do have a lot of defensive players, though, that need money.
As Aaron Donald is finding out.
Aaron Donald. I think Alec Ogletree, too.
Oh, is he holding out, too?
I think so. Or he's due to soon.
Oh, man.
So.
That's too bad. But I think Sammy Watkins is probably... I think for this year... For this year, I think that's why I think the Rams come out on top. Second, I think if you're for this year again, the Eagles I would probably pick second. I think the Eagles made strides by bringing Darby in, but they also made strides by moving Matthews out. They've got a logjam
definitely
at receiver.
Yeah.
And this will free up space for Nelson Aguilar, I think, he'll get time in the slot now, right? Because they were looking for him to kind of solidify himself in that spot anyway.
Yeah, they want him to succeed. He's just been having some trouble.
So I think Darby's an upgrade, and I think Matthews.
Darby's a huge upgrade for them.
Yeah. So I think the Eagles, and then maybe last the Bills. I don't think bringing Jordan Matthews in. I don't know. Does that really make sense?
It confused me in the sense that Jordan Matthews is a slot receiver. I mean, he ran 2/3 of his routes from the slot as a rookie, and then almost all of his routes as a slot receiver the last 2 years. So that's where he's primarily played from, and he's been really successful there. He's had 2,600 yards and 19 touchdowns in his career. But they also just picked up Anquan Bolden, who's also a slot receiver.
And who does a lot of those same things.
Yeah, and I think even Zay Jones, the guy that was there, was pretty good in the slot position in college. And I've heard that they're going to move him outside, so that it frees up the slot position for one of the 2 other slot receivers that they have. But it'll be interesting to see what they actually do with their passing game.
Yeah, that's a tough move going from the slot to outside. Because inside, I mean, you can create space, you can find seams, but outside you gotta run.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how easy a transition that is.
I'm guessing Anquan Bolden probably gets more time there. Seniority thing, age.
It would make sense, I think, to do that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And EJ Gaines, I'm not sure what to make of that.
Well, he was okay. He was pretty good his first 2 years, and then last year was pretty bad.
But do you think that was a product of the defense he was in?
Well, I heard that there was talk that Ronald Darby might not fit in the new scheme that the Bills are going to be running this year.
Okay.
So that may have been a reason why they felt comfortable letting him go, picking up Matthews and going for another draft pick. Because I think they've got they have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds next year.
Yeah.
And maybe 8 or 10 overall.
Yeah.
So I think they might be kind of hoping that Jordan Matthews works out, hoping that EJ Gaines works out, and they've also got a bevy of picks.
And I think that's probably, that's what I'm saying. So this year, I think it works out Rams, Eagles, Bills, but 3 years from now, I'm pretty sure you're going to look back at this trade and say, hey, look, Bills clearly made out there, and the Rams are still mediocre, and the Eagles are, this didn't do a lot to help them.
And one thing I kind of thought of was that the Bills may be looking towards a time when Tom Brady is not playing football anymore. And they can have a chance to be the class of the AFC North.
I didn't think about that. That's an interesting, I didn't even think about that.
I kind of wonder if it's like, well, let's compete, but at the same time, let's not really try this year.
That would be so awesome if an AFC East team actually just started to do that, just kept pushing draft picks farther down the road, just kept moving them out until Belichick and Brady were gone.
That's my conspiracy theory.
That is awesome. That's really good. I like that.
So you kind of changed my mind, because at first I was going to say the Eagles were the top winners, because I think that their offense is already really good, and adding a cornerback who's really good, which is what they need, because Jalen Mills and Ron Brooks were not good. So now they've got Darby, and they drafted Sidney Jones in the second round, but he's got an Achilles injury, so he might not play right away, or maybe not even this year.
I was going to say, he might be gone for the season.
Yeah, but they'll have him at least in the future. So they'll have a strong defense, half a strong defense, and then when he comes back, maybe he's everything they hoped he would be.
It could work out really good for him. I mean, it really could. I think it was a smart move by the Eagles to do it, because they really gave up something they're not going to use, and they got something back that is definitely valuable. So I mean, good on them.
I mean, last year when it was Jordan Matthews as the number one, but now this year they've got Alshon Jeffrey and Torrey Smith, along with already Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah,
Jordan Matthews becomes expendable.
Definitely, you can send him on his way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the trade.
I like it.
It was pretty good. You don't usually see trades like that at this point in the season, so it was.
I was excited for it.
Yeah, kind of refreshing, kind of a good thing to take a look at. Let's see. What else do we have on the list here? I want you to talk about the Rams GM Les Snead looking to take Watkins.
Oh yeah, so in the draft in 2014, there was talk that Snead was one of the he's the GM. He was one of the guys that was looking at Sammy Watkins as an option when the Rams picked number 2, but they went with Greg Robinson, who we know is now gone from the team. He's with the Lions. He was a huge disappointment.
Not great.
One of the worst offensive linemen ever, apparently.
I don't think ever. That sounds excessive.
Sorry. Last year. So now, with them deciding not to give Greg Robinson his 5th year and jettisoning him, and then discovering that the Bills weren't going to be extending Watkins or giving him his 5th year, it made sense for them to go after him.
Yeah, I really do think it's a good idea for him. I think this has the potential to help Goff. I'm not a huge Goff guy, but this will give him one less excuse. You know, why couldn't your quarterback do well? Well, we didn't support him. We didn't go get somebody. Well, now you did, because Sammy Watkins, say what you want, he's a number 1 receiver.
Oh yeah, and it gives them the opportunity. They don't have to rely on Tavon Austin to catch the football.
Yeah.
They can use him in gadget plays, end arounds, and sweeps and stuff like that, which is, I think, what he's suited for. And, I mean, he seems to do a lot better in that role anyway.
Yeah. Yes. I think so.
And they picked up Robert Woods this offseason, the Rams did. So he's a deep threat. I think he'll go well with Sammy Watkins. And they drafted Cooper Kupp, who I've been hearing good things about for training camp. So.
Wow. Nice. You've been doing
Tavon Austin slides down to 4th.
You don't need him on the field anymore. That's great.
Yeah, you can just throw him on when you have something special to run.
So everyone can look at him and tee off. It'll be great.
Nobody will see it coming because he's so small.
Oh, that's funny. Next up, you did some work.
Yeah, we talked about last week the overtime changing from 15 minutes to 10, and I had made the comment that I wondered if that would result in more ties. So I went ahead and I looked at all of the ties last year and tried to see if any of them would have changed, how many of them would have changed if there would have been more ties due to the overtime period ending 5 minutes early. And what I found, there were 13 regular season overtime games, and then obviously the Super Bowl went to overtime. I don't think they let the Super Bowl end in a tie.
No.
So, yeah, that probably wouldn't matter. Of the 13 regular season games that went to overtime, I think there would have been 2 ties more than there were already, because there were 3 ties last year anyway.
Were there?
But they were
I thought there was only 2. There was Seattle, Arizona, and then Cincinnati and somebody.
Yeah, Cincinnati and somebody.
Anyway.
So, okay, 2 more. But I also found that I think 2 of the games might have changed outcomes. I think one of them might have become a tie, and I think one of them might have changed winners.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
So that's interesting. But I don't think at the same time, most of the games, the outcome did not change.
Yeah.
So I think in the long run, it's probably fine.
I think, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we thought going into it. There's just not that many games that do end up in a tie going to overtime.
No.
So it's really, I don't know. How do you say it? It's a solution in search of a problem, maybe. It's just something that I
kind of thought that there were more games going into overtime, but 13 isn't really that many over the course of 17 weeks, and the playoffs. I counted the playoffs too.
Yeah.
So sounds like it'll just kind of help speed things up. Maybe it'll force the offenses to play a little more urgently. And maybe we'll get some actual exciting plays. No, they're all exciting plays in overtime. It's never a boring overtime scoring play, is it?
It's always it's never exciting in overtime. I can't remember. You know what? College football, I think, does it correctly. I think that overtime format is better.
Where do they just start them at like the 30 or something?
Yeah.
At the defense's 30, so they only have to go 30 yards.
Yeah. Then
that could be fun to watch in the NFL.
I think that'd be fine. It's kind of gimmicky. It is kind of gimmicky because you're taking you're taking a third of the team out of it when you don't use special teams. But I mean,
they might need to do the 50, I think, in NFL. I feel like there's a potential for it to just go on and on, people matching touchdowns and field goals over and over again.
It could be. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I saw an exciting overtime game except for the Super Bowl. That was
not exciting. Everybody knew the Patriots were going to just go and score immediately.
And they did.
Yes.
Well, that's what made it exciting though, for people who like the Patriots.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. You have some camp notes.
Yeah, just a few small things that we can go over and talk about.
Yes.
So we talked about Myles Jack a little bit in our South Divisions episode 4, and we talked about how the Jags were going to switch him with Paul Posluszny, who is a favorite of mine. Great. They were going to move. They were going to try moving Myles Jack over to the middle position, the Mike, and put Paul Posluszny out of his regular Mike position and over to the strong side. But Jack has been doing not so great in training camp and the preseason games there. Apparently he's been missing a lot of tackles and misreading things and taking bad routes and stuff. So they're putting Jack back on the strong side, and Paul Posluszny is moving back to the Mike position. But they're just going to keep Myles Jack, on the field every down, which was part of the reason they were moving him, because they thought, well, if he's playing in the middle, he can play all the downs.
This is kind of weird for me because so he's going to play strong in the base set, and then when they bring their nickel in, then he's moving to middle linebacker. Is that what's happening?
I hadn't seen that.
Because they're not going to just leave him in and sacrifice personnel. They're going to take somebody out, and they're probably still going to take out Posluszny. And at that point, he's got to move back in. So essentially what you're doing is you're limiting his exposure at middle linebacker, which I guess might be good. But at the same time, if you want him to play that spot, doesn't he need reps?
I guess maybe that's where they're going to give him his reps.
So essentially you're saying to him, you can't do this job full time, but you still need to learn all of the job because you're going to be playing it every third down.
I guess so.
That's I don't know.
Just limiting the opportunity to screw up.
I'm not sure I'm thrilled with that arrangement. I mean, I can see where it would make sense for him. And I think physically,
if they want him to play, they want him to play. But
yeah, I don't know.
I guess if it doesn't work, maybe they move on from him. I don't know.
He's really
good. Or
at
least, I think he's only 2 years in, right?
Yeah.
So obviously they're not going to move on from him yet, but they may not keep him beyond the 4 years that they're required to.
And if the Jags do, then it's another You can't let your guys go like that.
No.
I hope he comes out. I hope it works out for him.
I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah. The
next
one,
up,
I'm very excited about.
You have something else?
No. I'm very excited about this next one.
Oh yeah, this was a funny one.
Well, not funny for me. Funny for you.
Yeah. Not funny for Mr. Delvin Breaux,
No.
defensive back for the New Orleans Saints.
That poor bastard.
So, this poor guy, I don't know. I think I'm going to start with this in case you haven't heard of this. Delvin Breaux has been missing most of the training camp practices. I think it is 9 of the 15 that he's missed. So he's participated in 6 over the course of training camp, but he's missed 9. Sean Payton is not happy about this because this guy is suffering from like a bruise in his leg.
That's what he was diagnosed with.
Yes, and he can't get on the field, and he's like, "I'm gonna trade this guy. Let's trade this guy."
And in fairness,
so
Sean Payton he's a Bill Parcells guy, right?
Yeah.
You can't make the team from the training room. That's the mentality. So
yeah, he wants him on the field.
I completely understand.
Yeah. So, no, Delvin, you're out. We're putting you on the trading block. Turns out he went and got another x-ray because they're like, why is this guy with this bruise not playing football? He has a fracture. His leg is fractured, a fibula.
A broken leg.
Oops, not a bruise.
Just missed that.
So who do we blame here?
Well, I think you start with the person who diagnosed him with contusion.
And that's who they blamed. They fired their 2 team orthopedists because of this.
Good. You should be fired. That's pretty bad. I mean, come on. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
I mean, you missed the first one, and it's like, well, you've got a deep bruise in your leg, and he comes back the next day and says it still hurts a lot, and I can't go. I think maybe you x-ray it again, don't you?
And they're just like, nah, you're fine. It's just a bruise. Get out there.
I can see the color from here. It's turning a really nasty shade of brown. That's a bruise for sure. Except
I can see why Peyton would have been mad though.
Oh my god.
Like this guy's really not playing because he's got a bruise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm glad that got sorted out. And now it sounds like they don't want to trade him anymore, which is good.
Is that where it came down? Because I read earlier that not only had this all come out, they fired the orthopedist, but they still were on the fence about trading Delvin Breaux.
Oh, the article that I read said that he's probably going to be safe now.
Okay.
He's going to be out for, what is it, like 6 weeks or something like that? 6 to 8 weeks?
Because it's a broken bone. That's how long a broken bone takes to heal.
So he won't be back until, week 4 or 5?
And he won't be practicing because you don't practice on a broken bone.
No. Yeah. But the Saints are going to need him. The Saints are going to need anything they can get because their defense is in trouble.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll keep him. Maybe they'll get an offer for him still, but I don't think anybody's going to take him now that he's got a broken bone. So I think that might be why he's coming off of the trading block too.
It almost makes you wonder what would have happened if they would have gone through, found a trade partner, made the trade. What happens when he gets to the other team and fails the physical?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he probably goes back to the Saints, and then they fire the guys.
But that would be even worse, wouldn't it? That'd be just like, what? You tried to sell us a guy with a broken leg. How does that make sense?
Because then it becomes like, well, did they know? And were they just trying to pawn him off anyway?
That poor bastard. Oh, my goodness.
So, the moral of the story is, if you live in New Orleans, don't go see these doctors. I have their names for you. Derek Jones or Misty Suri.
Yeah, I won't.
Avoid them. And now, look, Derek spells his name DerYk. I'm not visiting a doctor that doesn't know how to spell, okay?
And orthopedics, that's, I'm not going to say it's easy because it's a doctor and it's an incredibly complex path to take to get there to be a doctor, but orthopedics is as cut and dried as doctoring gets. I mean, especially a broken bone.
I would love to see the x-rays for this guy now. This
isn't a joint. This isn't a ligament. It's a bone. You missed a bone. You missed a broken bone. That's your whole
the fibula?
Job.
Is the fibula the shin?
It's the front. The one
okay,
the front.
So that's like right there on the surface too. There's just some skin there. There's no fat.
No.
These guys are idiots.
It'd be tough. Yeah, I don't know. I think firing the doctors, whether it was their fault or not, certainly that's what I would expect you to do at this point.
Yeah, people are fired for less in the NFL.
Yes.
So that was fun. Speaking of getting fired. Now, I know, Jay, that you're not a fan of drafting a running back in the first round.
No, because they get hurt and you can find value for running backs later in the draft.
Okay, so how do you feel about drafting a kicker in the second round?
Why would I draft a kicker ever? Ever? Why would I ever do that? That makes no sense. I feel like
the NFL, I've been paying attention for 20 years now. It's been the same 32 guys kicking since I've
Yeah.
They're all immortal, and they all just continue to rotate amongst teams.
Yeah, that's right.
But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year drafted Roberto Aguayo, 59th overall.
Out of Florida State.
Yeah. Now, 59th, that's really high. You know there are players that were better than him.
That's starting player territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked up some of the names. There's people that you know. I mean, they're not all Pro Bowlers yet, but I'm sure there's going to be at least one or two that come out of there. And even if they're not Pro Bowlers, there's still plenty of impact players in that range that they could have gone after.
Oh, yeah.
So they cut him. Poor Roberto Aguayo got one season after being a second-round pick.
Tell us why they cut him.
Well, he was bad.
Well, not just bad.
Yeah, he was historically bad.
He was bad. He was bad to the point of 4 of 10 on
4 of 10 on 40 to 49-yard field goals. They only let him attempt one 50-yard field goal, and he missed it. He was fine from inside 30. But, I was looking at his game log. He didn't even kick a field goal less than 30 yards until like week 10.
Really?
I'm not sure why, if they just couldn't get that close to the end zone, and if they did, it was a touchdown, or if they just didn't trust him, and like seeing him in training camp, they're like, no, this guy's not going out there.
It's really crazy to me, because coming out of Florida State, that guy was bombing the ball.
Yeah.
Huge leg. The guy was kicking 65, 70-yard field goals in practice, warming up. And here's the reason why you don't see the NFL record length, the longest field goal, why you don't see that record change more often, is because you have to be at a very specific part of the field.
Yes.
On fourth down. I mean, a lot of things have to line up for you to be able to kick the ball from that spot. I think the record right now is 65.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it's 65. He's good from about 75, or he was in college. He could kick it from 75 in college. It's like he came into the NFL and they brought the hash marks in closer together, and suddenly he didn't know where he was anymore. Which makes no sense at all, because you're making it easier for the kicker.
Yeah.
There's less angle now. You can kick it straight.
Maybe that was his game.
Maybe it was. Maybe he needs to be on the right hash in college. Maybe that's it.
I didn't look at where his missed field goals were all going. Maybe if they were all like wide, they must have been all wide left or right. Maybe that was the problem. He was too used to janking it.
That's insane. That's crazy.
But the good news for all you Roberto Aguayo fans out there is the Bears picked him up already, free of charge.
You might as well take a chance.
Yeah. So right now they're running with Connor Barth, who was pretty good last year. I think he only missed 5 field goals, but the Bears didn't kick a lot of field goals either. So I don't know if his workload increased, if he would become a little less accurate. But, we'll see how he does.
I hope he does well. I really do hope he does well. Kicking is such a head game anyway, and I think probably just him being drafted high could have been the sole reason why he didn't work out in Tampa Bay. There's a lot of pressure that goes along with being that pick.
I'm so curious what they were thinking. Like, were there other teams that were seriously considering picking him, like, anytime soon?
Well, I don't know if you remember way back when, but Sebastian Janikowski was a first-round pick.
Okay.
I mean, it was 97 or 98. It might have even been before that, but it was at the end of the first round, but Al Davis picked him with a first-round pick. And
Al Davis,
say what you want to about the Polish cannon, but he's still kicking now.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kicking off through the end zone, and if he ever lines up for a 60-yard field goal, I don't know what his longest was last year, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was over 60. Yeah,
he's one of the guys that when you see him getting out there, you are pretty confident that he's going to make it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they had visions of Sebastian Janikowski running through their head, kicking through their heads.
It should have been. I mean, looking at him at Florida State, and Tampa Bay is right there, and Florida State's just up the road, and they probably were.
Scouted him hard.
They probably said, maybe he's the guy, and he had that look in college. If you were gonna spend a draft pick, I don't know why you would, but if you were gonna spend a draft pick on a kicker, he was the one to do it on.
Apparently, he wasn't.
Let me ask you this: if you know how I feel about drafting kickers. If you knew he was gonna be Sebastian Janikowski, would you draft him in the second round?
I think so.
Does that make sense at that point? Because that's
probably, it's
like a 20-year career. 20 years, you don't have to worry about that position.
Yeah, if you could see the future for just this one guy,
that might make sense. So maybe I guess that's the reason why they did it. It's good for them to get out of it as quick as they can. So I guess there's from the Bucs' perspective, there's at least that. At least they were quick about cutting ties and moving on.
Yeah, I haven't watched season 2 yet, but I saw a little snippet in an article when I was reading about Aguayo that apparently is going to be funny for me to watch, where the GM and the coach, Cutler and Licht, I think his name is, the GM, are talking about the kicker position and Aguayo, and Cutler says something like, well, it's got to be whoever the other guy is. I don't know. Kicker.
Oh, man. That's tough. It is tough.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that now.
Place kicker, it reminds me so much of goalie in ice hockey. My son plays goalie in ice hockey, and it's that kind of position where they get way too much credit when things go well, and they get just vilified if something goes sideways.
Oh yeah.
Miss an extra point and you're a dog forever.
It's a short leash.
Yeah. So yeah, it's tough.
The Bucs have been kind of they've been scraping the barrel for a while, ever since Martin Gramatica killed himself celebrating a field goal, I think it was.
That was Billy.
Was that his brother?
That was his brother Billy in Arizona, who wrecked his knee celebrating.
Either way, they had Martin Gramatica, and he was great for them, and then he left.
Both the Gramaticas
I don't think
were great.
they've had anybody
they really
relevant
haven't.
since.
No.
So they were trying to shore that up.
The Gramaticas are fantastic. Those two guys are my favorite. And the favorite part about that for me, my favorite part of that story is after Billy wrecked his knee, because both the Gramaticas coming up, when they would kick a field goal, they would celebrate like it was the end of the world. They had saved Earth. That was the celebration they performed after a 25-yard field goal. Woo! Jumping around like crazy. And then one day, Billy jumps up in the air after making a 37-yard field goal and wrecks his knee. And then the next week, Martin Gramatica, he kicks a field goal and he throws his arms up, but there's no jumping.
I've learned my lesson.
That's the end of that party right there.
We Gramaticas, we have weak knees.
Oh, poor Billy. Oh, woof. He came back. He was fine.
Yeah.
Ish. All right. What else do you have?
Well, I've got another quick. So the Ravens, another injury for them. Their offensive lineman, Alex Lewis, now is getting shoulder surgery.
Oh, no.
That requires he lose his season. So now the Ravens are down to 0 good up at. No, they still have Ronnie Staley and they still have Marshall Yanda. So 2 of 5.
Oh, that's tough.
But, they had Jeremy Zutta. Yeah. And he got injured last year, hurt himself, and I think they lost him by week 10. I think he was with the 49ers, and they released him.
Yeah.
And so now Zutta is going back and forth trying to decide between the Colts and the Ravens.
Ugh.
And latest I'm hearing is that he's favoring the Ravens. So
really?
I could prefer that they get him, because they could use some help.
It's something. Yeah.
He was a top half center last year. Before he went down.
You gotta wonder a little bit, though, if you're not good enough to break into the Niners roster.
I didn't look at who the Niners center was. Maybe he's one of their strong points.
He could be. That could
be. So he's also Zutta's 31, so he's getting up there. So he might be a good fill-in, but the Ravens will need to solve that problem.
It's good to have some continuity there, at least just a guy who knows the room and the guys are familiar with him. And if he's good in the room, who knows? I would think, look to get him back.
Yeah, I think the only reason they let him go was because he got injured and he was due some money. So they figured, well, we've got other guys coming up who surely won't get injured in training camp.
There's been a lot of guys go down this year. It's been wild.
I think that's 8 on the season now for the Ravens.
Oh, wow.
Them, and I think I didn't write it down, but I'm pretty sure the Chargers, who I was lamenting their training camp injuries last week, also lost somebody this week. One of their defensive players, I think a 2nd-round pick.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm feeling bad for those guys.
That is too bad.
Yeah, Miami also lost a 2nd-rounder, Raekwon McMillan. Parents are big Raekwon rapper fans, apparently. He was their starter in the linebacker position, so that's not good.
No.
Apparently they're not very strong at linebacker, so that's really not good that they lost him.
No.
Yeah.
Well, Well, and after losing Tannehill for the year, a lot going not right for...
Oh, but they upgraded anyway. They got Jay Cutler.
Actually, that might be a short-term upgrade. That's really... Jay Cutler can play football.
I'm calling it. I think he's going to have a good year.
And the best part is, if you're a Dolphins fan, you don't need to care if he gets beat up.
No.
Because he's not going to be there next year.
Yeah.
So
Tannehill will be back.
Yes.
To disappoint you.
They did bring Cutler in, though. I'm embarrassed. I should have brought that up first. Cutler is a great pickup for them. It really is, because he worked with Gase in Chicago, and he's got some continuity there, and it should be an easy transition for them to make.
Yeah, well, I think they have announced now that Cutler is going to play in the next preseason game, so they'll get to see what they've got. Jay will get to see if he's still got anything. It's against the Ravens. It's this Thursday. It's tomorrow night. For those of you who are listening to us, I'm sure by the time you listen to us, it won't be tomorrow night. It'll have been 2 nights ago.
We'll get it up fast. It'll be good. I mean, I think Jay had some left when he quit. I think he quit not because he was done, but he quit because he looked at the team in Chicago and said to himself, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, he got injured too. He only played 5 games in 2016 last year, so.
Is that all? I thought he played more than that. Maybe not. But it didn't seem like he was gimpy though. He wasn't limping around the field.
No. The 2 years before he had 21 touchdowns to 11 interceptions and then 28 touchdowns to 18 interceptions. So, that's pretty good.
That's fine.
I'll take that if I'm a Miami fan.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of preseason games, I got a chance to watch the Niners-Chiefs game, and I was listening to the Niners broadcast team. So it was a Homer broadcast, which, first of all, is fantastic. The Niners can do no wrong for these guys, right? But the really impressive thing for me was that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan both had that look like they know what they're doing.
Oh, that's good.
Very calm. Kyle Shanahan, for a guy, I think he's 37, real calm, very calm, a good steadying influence on that sideline. I remember watching... oh my goodness, his name. Josh McDaniel?
Oh yeah, McDaniels.
McDaniels, thank you. The current Patriot offensive coordinator, the former Denver head coach. When he was the head coach in Denver, that guy was all over the place.
Yeah, that wasn't a good experiment.
No, ball of stress on the sidelines, and that poor team just followed his mania all the way downhill. But Kyle Shanahan, he looks like a guy who's been there for years. And I mean, he has, because he's grown up in this business.
Oh yeah.
With his dad coaching in San Francisco and Denver, Oakland.
Everywhere, Washington.
All over the map. And the broadcast crew pointed out they had a picture of Kyle Shanahan as his first job in the NFL, which was as a ball boy for the San Francisco 49ers when his dad was the quarterback coach.
As like a 4-year-old or something?
Yeah. I think he was like 7. It was like very small Kyle Shanahan. But full circle. I, as a Seahawks fan, I am not best pleased that the Niners have seemed to pull this out.
They'll pose a little more of a threat for you guys now.
They will. I'm kind of bummed. Also, I'm bummed because they went back to their 80s uniform, the gold pants, the red top. It looks good. It's a classic look. None of that white stuff, whatever that is. No. It's a classic look.
Maybe we need to have a uniform segment one of these weeks. On
a podcast? It seems like a weird thing to do. We could.
Maybe not. It's hard without anything to look at.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. That's all I have for this week.
That's all we got.
Anything else?
I'm wiped.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, thank you so much for listening. Again, you can catch us on Twitter at The Broken Plane, on Instagram at The Broken Plane. Email us, thebrokenplanepod@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, and you can pick up the podcast on iTunes and Google Play Music.
Yeah.
Or if you want to visit the blog, The Broken Plane Pod, The Broken Plane Podcast at blogspot.com, I think is the... Yes, The Broken Plane Podcast. Sorry, I should know what that is since I'm the one who is supposed to be updating it. The Broken Plane Podcast.
You never know when it's just a free podcast.
Yes. No, I don't even, you know what? I don't even know how to go out and buy a domain name for myself. I have no idea how to do that.
Me either.
If you told me I was going to need to do that, I'd quit. No more podcasting. We're done.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it.
I'm out.
So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.